Oh my gosh, guys. Today doesn't stop. Another big trade going on today after we just heard about Timo Meyer. Now we hear that the Tampa Bay Lightning have gone all out once again to keep their window open and traded 5 picks for Tanner Jeannot from the Nashville Predators. This was a really solid young player for Nashville last year who was like a 20-goal player as a rookie. Really solid, loves to hit people. We love this guy. What a surprise.
Yeah, I love this player. He reminds me so much, like I said in previous videos. He reminds me a lot like the young Lucic. He's just a big player who just hits everything that moves. Sometimes he can score some goals. He can put up some points. He hasn't had a good year in Nashville, but Nashville in itself is a bad team this year. It's just not a good team offensively, and we expected that from everyone on that team to dip, especially with the high years that they had last year. So yeah, Tanner Jeannot is exciting. This is that player that Tampa Bay Lightning always like to add during the trade deadline. You know, they added Nick Paul last year. They added
Blake Coleman before.
Blake Coleman the year before. Like they always seem to add these big pieces. It really boosts the morale of that team.
So part of me thinks from Tampa's side this is insane, but part of me thinks this is absolutely genius. This is a perfect complement player they need for their third line. This guy is going to just fit in perfectly with what they try to do. This is a very physical team. We've seen in the past they rely on their big body defensemen and to just grind teams down in 7-game series because we know this team's going to be in the playoffs. It's a lock right now. They're likely going to play against the Leafs, and they're going to want to wear these young kids down on the Leafs, and this is the type of guy who will do it. This guy will throw 4 or 5 hits a game. He loves to shoot the puck. You can put him on the penalty kill. He can kill penalties. This is really, truly a good hockey player, and I'm a little surprised on Nashville's end. Yes, they got a ton back with getting a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth round pick, along with Cal Foote, one of the Tampa Bay Lightning's young defensemen who hasn't really worked out there. But Tanner Jeannot was just so solid right now with Nashville last year, and he showed such promise. I can't believe after a bit of a down year, they're willing to get rid of him and give up on him.
Well, to be fair, Nashville is not going to make the playoffs. So I think they know that. I'm actually really... I praise them for this move because they're realizing that they're kind of in a rebuild mode now.
Oh, they're definitely in a rebuild. But
and they never admit to this before. They always add weird pieces in the deadline usually with the Nashville Predators. They always want to retool the lineup. This is the first move where I'm like, okay, this is I get what they did with this move because they're not making the playoffs. There's the West right now. The teams that are in the playoffs right now are too competitive.
Change is coming in Nashville. David Poile, one of the longest GMs in the league, stepped down. He said at the end of this year he is done, and Barry Trotz will be taking over.
Which is very shocking.
That's incredibly shocking in itself. But I did not expect that right after he announces that, 6 hours later, they had a trade in place.
Yeah, so I really like Tanner Jeannot, and he's going to add so much to this Tampa Bay Lightning team. An element that will make them more physical for sure. What they lost is really from the roster is Cal Foote, and you know what?
Nothing.
This was a player I kind of complained about with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just didn't think he was that good in the playoffs.
He was kind of their weak spot against the Avs and against the Rangers in the playoffs. He really
even
kind
Toronto.
of he wasn't able to play a lot of minutes for this team. And if he did, he was kind of a bit of a liability, not to be a hater, but he just would have turnovers. He'd make mistakes positionally. He was no Victor Hedman or Sergachev. But I think there was a good move getting rid of him for Tampa.
I like that Perbinks guy.
He's been a great add.
Way better than Cal Foote. I think this is the reason why I feel like Tampa was comfortable with moving this player out, just because the Perbinks has just outplayed him in all facets of the game. It's just he's better defensively, better everything. So, and we watched him in the Toronto series. He was like, giving some weird turnovers, and he's just a weak spot on the team. And it's good that they got rid of him. They got better by subtraction.
Addition by subtraction. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sorry to crap on Cal Foote, but he's just not very good.
He wasn't what he was expected to be when he was drafted so high. For me, I think this is good. I think what the main thing, now that we know that David Poile is stepping down and Barry Trotz is going to be taking over as the GM next year, I think this was a homie move. This guy was trying to be a real homie. He was trying to make sure the cupboard was stacked with draft picks. So Barry Trotz was going to be in a very good position to rebuild this team. He's like, man, if I give my buddy, who's going to be my successor, good options to draft and rebuild a team, he's a smart hockey mind. He'll make the right choices.
You know what's insane? Think about it. Their third line now is Nick Paul, centered by Ross Colton and this guy, Tanner Jeannot. That's their third line now.
Oh, I know. Tampa's stacked as always.
That is an elite third line, in my opinion. This team, Nick Paul is an elite penalty killer in my books, and he can score timely goals here and there. Remember, like he did in Game 7, right, against Toronto. It's like this guy can play hockey. He was just playing really injured in the playoff run last year, but he still did his best. I really like this line. It's a big size third line. I love it.
Can we talk about how crazy the East is this year? Like with this trade, it just confirms the Eastern Conference is so drastically ahead of the West right now. Every one of these teams is loading up, whether it's the Rangers going out and adding players or the Devils adding players. And now we see Tampa loading up and Toronto's loaded up with O'Reilly. Like, I mean, all these teams are going all in right now.
The crazy thing is, I think we discussed this before off air, but I think the best team in the Western Conference right now is probably Colorado. It's probably Colorado. It might not show in the standings, but they are the best currently. But they're not even, if they were to move to the Eastern Conference, they're probably like the 5th or 6th best team in there.
Well, the Rangers last I checked were 6th in the East, and they were ahead of the first place West
Rangers,
team.
Carolina, like you got Toronto,
New Jersey, Boston, Tampa. There you go.
Like these teams are all better than Colorado.
And they're all loading up. All these teams are. I'm interested to see what Carolina does. They're the one of the only 6 now that hasn't gone and added a bunch. So should be interesting to see.
So yeah, it's going to be a fantastic year in the playoffs this year. I'm so excited for the playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference. And this is I'm coming from an Oilers and Minnesota fan. All my teams are in the West, but I'm more excited for the Eastern Conference this year. The teams are just so much better.
Oh yeah, that's where all the superpowers are. Like, it's crazy, and I can't wait to watch the first round of the playoffs this year, especially in the East. But until next time, guys, I hope you guys enjoy, and we look forward to more insane trades in the upcoming days. Take care.
Take care, guys. Bye.